The wind screamed outside like a living thing. Snow blew across the frozen valley, hitting the wooden walls of a small cabin standing alone in the endless white. Inside, the fire burned low, giving off a weak orange glow. Ethan sat close to it, rubbing his hands together. His breath came out as mist. He had been alone for many weeks now, watching the endless winter sky for any sign of change. The Arctic silence had a weight. It pressed on him like a heavy blanket. Only the crackling of the fire and the soft breathing of his dog, Rex, kept him company. Rex was a big, strong husky with a gray coat and calm eyes. He was more than a dog. He was a friend, a guardian, the only voice in the long nights. Outside, the wind grew louder. Ethan reached for his cup of coffee. It had gone cold. He sighed, stood up, and went to check the small window. The world beyond was white and empty. He was about to turn away when he heard it. A sound. Soft. Distant. A cry. At first, he thought it was just the wind. But then it came again, faint but sharp, cutting through the storm. It didn't sound like an animal. It didn't sound like the cracking of ice. It sounded almost human. Rex stood up, ears raised, tail stiff. He gave a low growl, deep and uneasy. Ethan froze. His heart began to beat faster. "What was that?" he whispered. The cry came once more, a little louder now. It was strange. There was pain in it, fear, and something else he couldn't describe. Ethan felt the hair on his neck rise. Rex barked once, short and sharp, his eyes fixed on the door. The fire flickered as if something outside had moved past the window. Ethan grabbed his flashlight and rifle. He had lived in this frozen land for months. He knew how dangerous the cold could be, but that sound, it pulled at something deep inside him. Curiosity, worry, instinct. He pulled on his thick coat, scarf, and gloves. "Come on, boy," he said quietly. "Let's go see." The door creaked open and the cold hit him like a slap. The wind was wild and snow swirled around him in a dance of white ghosts. The cry was still there, somewhere far in the distance. Ethan clicked on his flashlight. Its weak beam cut through the storm just enough to see a few meters ahead. He started walking. Rex followed close behind, leaving paw prints that were quickly covered by new snow. Every few steps, Ethan stopped and listened. Nothing but the wind. Then again the cry, this time from the left. It sounded closer now. Ethan turned and pushed forward, his boots sinking into the deep snow. His breath came hard, turning to ice crystals on his scarf. "Hello," he shouted into the storm. "Is anyone out there?" No answer. Only silence, and then that same haunting cry. Rex barked again, louder, pointing toward a ridge ahead. Ethan followed his gaze. Through the blowing snow, he thought he saw something move. Just a shadow sliding across the white ground. "Maybe it's a lost hiker," he muttered to himself, "or a trapper." But deep down, something didn't feel right. The sound wasn't like anything he had heard in his life. As they climbed the ridge, the wind grew colder, sharper. The flashlight flickered. Rex whined softly but kept walking. At the top, Ethan stopped and scanned the valley below. His light swept across snowdrifts and frozen rocks. Then something glimmered, a faint blue glow half buried in the snow. He frowned, blinking. "What the hell is that?" He took a few careful steps forward. The glow pulsed softly like it was breathing. Rex began to growl again, low and deep. Ethan knelt beside the glowing patch and brushed away the snow with his glove. Beneath it, something hard and smooth reflected the light. A piece of glass, or crystal, cold as death to the touch. The cry came again, but this time, it was right next to him. Ethan jumped back, heart pounding, eyes wide. The sound was coming from under the ice. Rex barked wildly, pawing at the ground. Ethan dropped to his knees, brushing more snow away. The blue glow spread wider, brighter. Beneath the frozen layer, a shape was visible now, long, pale, almost human. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. The figure moved, it was alive. He stumbled backward, gripping his rifle, staring at the glowing shape trapped beneath the ice. The wind howled louder, and the snow began to fall faster, as if the storm itself had come alive. The cry came one last time, louder, clearer, almost pleading. Ethan's hand trembled on the gun. Rex growled, but took a step closer. Something deep inside Ethan whispered that whatever was under that ice was not supposed to be found. But it was too late. He had found it. And nothing would ever be the same again. The wind howled harder now, screaming across the frozen hills as if warning Ethan to turn back. But he didn't. He couldn't. Something deep inside him refused to walk away. That cry, it wasn't an echo or a dream. It was real, alive, and desperate. The blue glow under the ice still flickered faintly like a heartbeat fading in the cold. Ethan stood over it, his breath fogging the air. Rex barked again, circling the spot, tail low, uneasy. Ethan crouched beside the glow and brushed away more snow. The ice cracked softly beneath his gloves. Beneath the thin layer, he could see it more clearly now. A figure. Human in shape, but not quite human in detail. Its body shimmered faintly with light, its skin pale as the moon. "What are you?" Ethan whispered. He pressed his ear close to the ice. Nothing, no heartbeat, no movement. But then the faintest whisper reached him, so soft he almost missed it. A sound weak and distant like a sigh. The cry again, this time not of pain but of life. Rex barked sharply, tail raised, and took a step back. His fur bristled. The ground beneath them gave a low groan. Crack. A thin line appeared across the ice, running straight beneath Ethan's knees. "Whoa, easy," he muttered, backing off slowly. The snow beneath him shifted. The ridge was unstable. If he wasn't careful, both he and Rex could fall through. Still, his eyes kept going back to the glowing figure beneath the ice. Something about it called to him, pulling his thoughts, his will, his fear. He forced himself to move. "Come on, boy," he said, turning toward the cabin. "We'll come back." "We need tools." But as he began to walk away, the glow brightened, suddenly and violently. The light burst upward through the snow, washing over the ridge in a cold blue wave. Ethan stumbled and shielded his eyes. When he looked again, he saw the figure moving beneath the ice, slowly, trying to reach the surface. The cry came again, clearer than ever, like a voice calling for help. "Damn it," he muttered, throwing his rifle over his shoulder. "I can't leave it here." He dropped to his knees again, pulled the small axe from his belt, and began hacking at the ice. Each strike echoed through the silent wilderness. The ice was thick, but cracks began to form. "Hang on," he shouted, though he wasn't sure who or what he was talking to. Rex circled him anxiously, whining with every blow. The wind picked up, turning wild, the snow swirling faster. Then, with one last strike, the ice split open. A sharp blast of cold air rose from below. The glow spilled out like smoke. Ethan leaned closer, coughing. He could see it now, clear as day. A person, yes. But the skin wasn't skin. It looked like glass, glowing faintly from within. Its hair, if it could be called that, floated around its face like silver mist. Ethan stared in awe. "You're not from here," he whispered. He reached out, his glove brushing the figure's arm. The instant he touched it, a shock ran through his body. Cold, sharp, electric. Images flashed through his mind, bright lights, a storm of fire, a ship falling from the sky, and a feeling of endless fear. He gasped and fell backward, landing hard in the snow. His flashlight slipped from his hand, rolling down the slope. The blue light faded for a moment, and then the figure's eyes opened. They glowed like liquid silver. Ethan froze. He couldn't move, couldn't speak. Rex growled, barking furiously, but stayed beside him. The figure blinked slowly, struggling to rise. It opened its mouth as if to speak, but only a soft hum came out, a sound like wind through glass. Ethan swallowed hard. You can hear me, can't you?" The figure tilted its head, eyes studying him. It looked frightened, weak. It raised a trembling hand toward him, then collapsed again, the glow fading to a dull shimmer. Ethan hesitated for a second. He knew what logic said, leave it, get to safety. But his heart said something else. He took off his thick coat and wrapped it around the strange being. "You're coming with me," he said under his breath. "I'm not leaving you out here to die." He lifted it, lighter than he expected, and started back toward the cabin. The storm beat against him with full force, snow blinding his path. Rex stayed close, barking to guide him through the white fog. Step by step, they pushed forward through the frost. Ethan's legs burned, his lungs screamed for air, but he kept going. Behind him, the blue glow shimmered faintly from the coat he carried. And somewhere, deep in the frozen valley, something else had awakened. The wind carried a low rumble, far off yet heavy enough to shake the air. Ethan didn't notice it, but the ice beneath his boots cracked softly, like the earth itself was breathing. He didn't know it yet, But the storm had only just begun. The storm howled outside like a living beast. Ethan stumbled through it, clutching the strange figure close to his chest. The cold bit into his face and hands, but he didn't care. All that mattered was getting back to the cabin before the storm swallowed them both. Rex stayed close, barking against the wind, his fur coated in snow. The path back felt longer than ever. The snow was thick now, knee-deep and rising. Every step was a fight. The wind tore at Ethan's coat, trying to drag him down. "Just a little more," he gasped, his breath fogging the air. "Almost home, boy." Finally, through the white curtain, the cabin appeared, dark and half buried under snow. Ethan forced the door open and stumbled inside. The warmth of the dying fire hit him like a memory. He slammed the door shut, locking out the roar of the storm. For a moment, there was silence. Only the crackling of the fire and Ethan's heavy breathing filled the room. He laid the figure down gently on a rug near the hearth. The faint blue light under the coat flickered weakly. Rex circled it warily, growling low, then backed away, ears flat. Ethan knelt beside it, pulling off his gloves. The figure's skin, if it could be called that, was smooth, cold, and pale. Not like ice, more like glass. Beneath it, light moved slowly, like liquid fire trapped beneath a crystal shell. Its chest rose and fell, barely, but it was breathing. Ethan couldn't believe what he was seeing. "What are you?" he whispered, voice shaking. He fetched a blanket, wrapped it tighter, and checked for injuries. There were no wounds, no marks, nothing human about its body except its shape. When he touched its wrist, a faint pulse of light ran up its arm. The same cold energy from before brushed against his skin, sending a strange chill through his bones. Ethan pulled back, breathing hard. The light dimmed again, as if reacting to his fear. Rex whined softly. "It's okay, boy," Ethan said, trying to calm himself. "We'll figure this out." He stoked the fire higher, feeding it logs until the flames burned bright. The orange glow mixed with the faint blue shimmer from the being, painting the cabin in strange colors. For a while, nothing happened. The storm raged outside. Inside, the fire burned low again. Ethan sat on the floor, his back against the wall, eyes fixed on the figure. He had seen many things in his life, broken machines, frozen bodies, strange lights in the polar night, but nothing like this. Was it human? Was it alive at all? He didn't have answers, but he couldn't look away. Then it moved, just a small twitch of its hand, but enough to make Ethan jump. Rex barked, hackles raised. The figure's head turned slightly toward the fire. Frost cracked off its shoulders, falling to the rug in thin shards. Its eyes opened. Ethan froze. The eyes glowed softly, silver and endless like tiny mirrors reflecting stars. They blinked slowly, focusing on him. Ethan's throat went dry. "You can hear me?" he whispered, no reply. The being looked around the cabin, confused, like a child waking from a long dream. Then it tried to sit up, but its body trembled with weakness. "Easy," Ethan said quickly, holding up a hand. "Don't move. You're safe." The figure's gaze locked onto his face. Its lips parted. A sound came out, soft, broken, and unlike any language he knew. It wasn't words. It was music, low, melodic tones that seemed to echo through the air. Ethan's head throbbed. He pressed his fingers to his temples. For a second he saw flashes in his mind again, bright lights, metal corridors, stars, and fire. Then it was gone. The figure slumped back, eyes fluttering closed. Ethan sat in stunned silence. His hands shook. What the hell was that? He looked at Rex, but the dog only whimpered and crawled under the table. The blue glow dimmed, pulsing slower now, like a heartbeat fading to sleep. Ethan knelt again, checking its breathing. It was still alive, but weak. He sighed, rubbing his forehead. All right. You're not dying on me now." He went to his shelf and grabbed his first aid kit, though he wasn't sure what to do with it. Bandages, alcohol? What use were they on a being made of light and frost? He hesitated, then simply covered it with another blanket and sat nearby, rifle in hand, watching. Hours passed. The storm outside began to quiet, but inside the cabin the air felt heavy, charged. The glow never completely faded. Ethan's eyes grew heavy, but he refused to sleep. He kept thinking about that flash, the vision of stars and crashing metal, the way the being's eyes seemed to hold 1,000 miles of silence, and one thought refused to leave his mind. That thing wasn't from Earth. As dawn crept through the cracks in the shutters, the first light of morning fell across the floor. Ethan sat there, still awake, staring at the stranger wrapped in blankets. Somewhere deep inside, he knew his quiet life was over. Whatever he had brought into his cabin wasn't just a mystery. It was the beginning of something far greater, and somewhere far beyond the storm, hidden under miles of ice. Something else had started to move. Morning light crept through the cabin window, pale and cold. The storm outside had finally passed, leaving a world buried under a deep, silent blanket of snow. Inside, the fire had turned to faint orange embers. Ethan hadn't slept all night. He sat slouched in a chair, staring at the stranger wrapped in blankets near the hearth. The faint blue light still glowed under the fabric, soft, steady now like a quiet heartbeat. Rex slept under the table, one eye half open, still uneasy. Ethan rubbed his tired eyes and exhaled. "What are you?" he whispered for the 100th time. He stood up and walked closer. The air around the being still felt cold, colder than the rest of the cabin. Frost clung to the rug beneath it, like the creature carried winter inside its skin. Ethan knelt and placed his hand near its face, not touching, just feeling. The temperature dropped instantly. His breath misted in front of him. Then, slowly, the being's eyelids fluttered. The silver eyes opened again. Ethan froze. For a moment, neither of them moved. The eyes flicked around the room, studying everything. The walls, the fire, the window, the dog. Then they landed on him. Ethan's heart pounded. "You're awake," he said softly. The being blinked slowly, breathing shallow. It tried to speak. Its lips moved, but only a weak hum came out like the wind through glass. Ethan leaned forward. "Can you understand me?" The being frowned slightly, then nodded, just once. Ethan's chest tightened. "Okay," he breathed. "Okay, good." "That's good." It tried again, forcing out a sound. The voice was soft, strange, musical. The words were not English, not any language he knew, but something in the tone felt familiar. Like emotion without meaning. He shook his head. "I don't understand." "I'm sorry." The being looked at him, eyes full of confusion and fear. Then it lifted a trembling hand and pointed. To the window, Ethan turned. Outside, the snow-covered valley stretched endlessly under the morning sun. "Out there?" he asked. The being nodded again, weakly. Then it pressed a hand to its chest and whispered a few more strange words. Ethan didn't know what they meant, but he could feel something inside the sound, a kind of sadness. "You came from out there," he said quietly. "Didn't you?" The being's eyes glimmered, and it gave a small nod. Then, before Ethan could ask anything else, it leaned forward suddenly and pressed 2 fingers against his hand. A cold rush of energy shot through him like lightning. Ethan gasped and fell backward, clutching his head. Flashes filled his mind again, a blinding storm of light. A metal ship falling through the clouds, fire, ice, screams in a language he didn't know, and beneath it all something buried deep in the ice, huge, ancient, pulsing with dark energy. He could feel it. Not see it, feel it, like the earth itself was alive. Then the vision broke. Ethan hit the floor, gasping for breath. The being had collapsed again, exhausted, hand falling away. Rex barked wildly, running to Ethan's side. Ethan's pulse raced. His mind was spinning, every nerve buzzing with cold fire. He stared at his hand. The spot where the being had touched him still glowed faintly blue beneath the skin, like a spark had been planted there. He turned toward the stranger, voice trembling. "What did you just show me?" No answer. The being was unconscious again, breathing slow and shallow. Ethan sat there for a long time, listening to the silence. Finally, he stood, still shaken, and looked out the window. The valley was peaceful, the snow untouched except for something far out near the horizon. A long black line stretched across the ice, twisting like a scar. He squinted. The ice was cracked as if something massive had moved beneath it. He remembered the vision. The ship, the buried thing. His stomach twisted. He turned back to the sleeping figure. "You crashed here," he whispered. "Didn't you?" Rex barked once, sharp and uneasy. Ethan followed his gaze. The being's blue light had dimmed again, but now faint symbols began to appear across its skin. Glowing marks, slow-moving like words written in light. They pulsed rhythmically. Ethan stepped closer. "Is this communication?" He grabbed his notebook from the table and started sketching the shapes. They changed each time, but one pattern kept repeating, 3 circles joined by a line. Outside, the wind picked up again, brushing snow against the window. Somewhere far in the distance, a deep rumble echoed. Ethan froze. It wasn't thunder. It came from beneath the ice. Rex growled low, backing away from the door. Ethan felt the floor tremble slightly beneath his feet. He looked out the window again. One of the snow hills was sinking slowly, collapsing into itself. He whispered, "Something's moving out there." The being stirred again, eyes half open. It looked at him with fear, then pointed once more toward the window. Its voice came out in a single broken word. "Hide." The light in its body flickered violently, then went out completely. Ethan stood frozen, heart hammering. Outside, the ground cracked open, and from deep below the ice, something began to rise. The noise under the ice didn't stop. It grew louder, like thunder rolling deep inside the frozen earth. The cabin shook slightly, dust falling from the ceiling. Rex barked wildly, ears flat, pacing near the door. Ethan stood frozen, staring out the window. The snow outside was shifting, slow, steady, unnatural. Far across the valley, a long crack stretched through the white sheet, spreading wider with each passing second. He swallowed hard. What did I wake up? Behind him, the alien lay still, its glow dimmed to a faint pulse under the blanket. Ethan's heart pounded as he grabbed his coat and flashlight. He didn't know what he was going to find, but he knew he couldn't ignore it. He turned to Rex. "Stay close, boy. We're going out." The dog barked once as if to say he understood. Ethan glanced back at the sleeping stranger one last time. The words it had spoken, "hide," still echoed in his mind. But curiosity burned stronger than fear. He stepped into the cold once more. The storm had passed, leaving behind a strange silence. The world looked untouched, except for that single dark line cutting through the snow, leading toward the far ridge. Ethan followed it. The air felt heavier as he walked. Each step crunched loudly, echoing in the emptiness. The crack widened the closer he got, and faint steam rose from it, warm against the freezing air. When he reached the edge, Ethan peered down. What he saw stole his breath. Beneath the ice, half buried in frozen layers, was metal. Not rock, not ice, metal. Smooth, black, and vast. It wasn't a plane. It wasn't any machine he knew. It looked alive. The shape stretched for hundreds of feet under the ice, glowing faintly with the same blue light he had seen in the being's body. Symbols were etched across its surface, moving, changing like they were breathing. Ethan's flashlight flickered. "This can't be real." He took a cautious step forward, the ice cracking softly beneath his boots. The glow pulsed once, bright enough to light the valley for a second. Then faintly he heard it. The same cry, but this time it came from below. Rex whined, backing away, fur raised. Ethan knelt, brushing snow away from a metal ridge. The moment his glove touched it, the symbols flared to life. A low hum rolled through the ground, vibrating up his legs. "Easy," he muttered, taking his hand back. "Easy now." The hum grew stronger. The snow around him began to melt, steam rising into the air. The light spread across the ice, tracing the outline of the massive buried structure. Ethan realized what he was standing on. It wasn't a crash site, it was a ship, and it wasn't dead. Something inside it was waking up. He stumbled back, slipping on the ice. No, stop!" But it didn't stop. The hum deepened, turning into a pulse like the heartbeat of something alive. The ground shook. Chunks of ice broke away and fell into the widening crack. From the depths below, a dull red light began to glow, darker, heavier, like heat trapped in the deep. Rex barked and pulled at Ethan's coat, trying to drag him away. Ethan finally moved, backing off fast, his breath coming in quick bursts. Behind him, the snow erupted upward. A pillar of blue light shot into the sky, cutting through the clouds. For a moment, everything was silent. Then the sound hit. A deep, booming roar that rattled the air itself. Ethan dropped to the ground, covering his ears. Rex howled beside him. The light faded as quickly as it appeared, leaving behind a dull, glowing crater. Steam rolled across the valley. When Ethan lifted his head, he saw something moving inside the crater, a structure of black metal, covered in frost and strange markings. A doorway half open, pulsing with faint light. He swallowed. "You've got to be kidding me." Rex barked again, staring at the entrance. A low vibration ran through the air like a distant heartbeat calling them closer. Ethan knew he shouldn't. Every instinct screamed, "Run." But something inside him, the same curiosity that had brought him into the storm, pulled him forward again. He took a step toward the crater. The ground beneath him hissed, melting slightly under his boots. The air smelled of ozone and burnt metal. Inside the doorway, a faint blue glow flickered. Then he saw it, a symbol on the wall, the same one he had drawn in his notebook. 3 circles connected by a single line. He froze. It wasn't just a crash. It was a message. The alien in his cabin wasn't lost. It had been sent here. Ethan took another step closer, staring into the ship's dark interior. The blue light pulsed again, faint but rhythmic, like it was responding to his presence. "Someone, or something, knows I'm here," he whispered. Suddenly, the glow on his hand, the mark the alien had left, flared to life. The same blue light shot up his wrist, matching the rhythm of the ship. Rex barked and jumped back. The ship answered. A deep tone echoed through the valley. Long, haunting, and full of meaning. Ethan couldn't understand but felt deep inside. He took one step back, fear rising in his throat. Then he heard movement inside the ship. A shadow shifted behind the doorway. He whispered, "Oh no." Rex growled low, teeth bared. Something was inside that wreck. Awake. Waiting. And whatever it wasn't the same as the one sleeping in his cabin. The air around the crater felt wrong. Still. Heavy. Like the world was holding its breath. Ethan stood at the edge, staring down into the black doorway that led inside the buried ship. His flashlight beam trembled as it cut through the rising mist. Rex whined softly, ears flat, his body pressed close to Ethan's leg. "Easy, boy," Ethan whispered. "We're just looking." But even he didn't believe his own words. The metal around the doorway wasn't like anything he had ever seen. It shimmered faintly, shifting between colors as if alive. The symbols along the surface pulsed, slow, rhythmic like a heartbeat. Ethan felt his hand tingling again. The mark the alien had left on him was glowing brighter now, reacting to the ship. He pointed the light inside. The corridor stretched downward, carved into the ice itself. It was smooth, clean, untouched by time. And at the end of it, something faintly moved. He couldn't tell what it was, only that it was large. Then the hum began again. A deep, vibrating sound rolled through the ground. The snow around the crater trembled, sliding into the hole. Ethan stumbled, grabbing Rex's collar to keep steady. The hum grew louder. The symbols on the ship flared to life, one by one, lighting up the ice like stars beneath their feet. And then, he heard the voice. Not a cry this time. Not words. Just a low whisper that wasn't sound at all. It was inside his mind. "You woke it." Ethan froze, breathing fast. He looked around, but there was no one there. The voice was cold, distant, and familiar. Like the being back at his cabin, he whispered, "Who's there?" No reply. Only silence and the echo of his own heartbeat. Then from inside the ship came a faint metallic screech. Something was moving. Ethan took a cautious step back. "Rex, we're leaving now." But before he could turn, a blast of air erupted from the doorway, hot, foul, filled with the scent of metal and ash. The snow hissed as it melted around him. A shape emerged. At first, Ethan thought it was another figure like the one in his cabin, but as it came closer, he realized it was wrong. Its light wasn't blue, it was red. Deep, pulsing, angry red. Its body was twisted, covered in shards of ice and black metal. It dragged itself forward, clawing at the frozen ground, leaving a trail of steam behind. Rex barked furiously, teeth bared. Ethan raised his rifle, but his hands were shaking. The creature lifted its head. Its eyes glowed like burning coals. For a moment, the world fell silent. Then a voice filled his mind again, but this one wasn't gentle. It was sharp, cold, and full of hate. "You set me free." Ethan stumbled backward. No, I didn't mean." The ground cracked. Red light seeped up through the fissures, spreading across the snow like veins of fire. The creature crawled out completely now, its long limbs slicing through the air, its shape flickering as if it wasn't entirely real. The hum of the ship deepened, turning into a roar. Rex barked, snapping at the creature, but Ethan shouted, "Stay back!" The monster's gaze fixed on him. It tilted its head, almost studying him, then spoke, not with words but through the mark on his hand. "The seal is broken." The sleeper wakes. Ethan clutched his wrist, pain shooting through him. The mark glowed painfully bright, the light pulsing in rhythm with the creature's chest. He realized with a horrible certainty that the mark was connected to the ship, to the being in his cabin, and now to this. The creature stepped closer, the ground freezing under its touch. "What do you want?" Ethan gasped. The air turned colder, the wind rising again. The creature's eyes flared brighter, and for the first time it spoke aloud, its voice like 1,000 echoes layered in one. "Balance is gone. The protector sleeps. The shadow rises." Ethan's pulse raced. He didn't understand, but he knew the protector meant the blue being. The one in his cabin. The creature took another step forward, its body flickering with heat and frost. Rex growled, fur bristling, ready to fight. Ethan backed away, heart hammering. No, stay away!" Suddenly, the blue light from his hand surged outward. A blast of energy erupted from his palm, throwing both him and the creature backward. Ethan hit the snow hard, gasping for air. The red monster screeched, its body twisting, smoke rising from its limbs. For a brief moment it hesitated, then sank back into the ship, its form melting into the darkness. Silence returned. Ethan lay there, panting, staring at the glowing mark on his hand. The blue light dimmed slowly, fading into his skin. Rex whined and licked his face, pulling him back to reality. He sat up, shaking, staring at the crater. The doorway was still open, glowing faintly red. The hum had stopped, but deep below something was still alive. Waiting. He whispered, "The protector sleeps." He looked toward the cabin far in the distance. The alien, the being he had saved. It wasn't here by accident. It was here for this. Ethan stood, brushing the snow from his coat, and stared at the dark sky above. The aurora was back, green and blue lights twisting together like spirits in the air. But for the first time he noticed something different. Behind the aurora, faint and distant, a red glow was spreading, slow, steady, and rising. He swallowed hard. "This isn't over," Rex barked once, as if agreeing. Ethan turned toward the cabin and started running through the frost, knowing one truth burned deep in his mind. The real fight hadn't even started yet. Ethan ran through the blinding white, his breath tearing at his throat, his boots sinking deep into the snow. The sky above had changed. The aurora no longer shimmered softly. It was wild now, streaked with red that bled through the green light like fire through glass. Behind him, the ground still trembled. Far in the valley, the ship pulsed with red light, spreading like veins beneath the ice. Something massive was stirring, something ancient. Rex kept pace beside him, barking in panic, his paws kicking up clouds of frost. "Come on, boy," Ethan shouted, forcing his tired legs to keep moving. "We have to get back." The cabin appeared in the distance, small, fragile, almost swallowed by snow. Smoke still curled from the chimney, though the fire inside had nearly died. He burst through the door, slamming it shut behind him. His heart hammered in his chest. The being, the alien he had rescued, was sitting upright now. The blue glow had returned, brighter than ever. Its eyes met his, and in that moment, Ethan knew it understood everything. "You knew this was going to happen," he whispered. The being didn't speak with words. Instead, it reached toward him, placing a hand on his chest. Instantly, Ethan's mind filled with images again. But this time they were clear. He saw two shapes, light and shadow, locked in endless conflict. One, the blue light, was a guardian, a protector of worlds. The other, the red shadow, a destroyer that fed on energy, on life. The ship under the ice wasn't a vessel. It was a prison. The creature Ethan had seen wasn't supposed to escape, and he had freed it. The vision faded, leaving him breathless. "That thing, it's going to destroy everything, isn't it?" The being lowered its head slightly. The glow of its body flickered, as if in pain. "What do we do?" Ethan asked. "How do we stop it?" The being looked toward the window where the red glow of the sky bled through the cracks. Then it turned back to him and spoke, its voice faint, broken, yet full of resolve. "Together." Ethan frowned. "What do you mean, together?" The being pressed its hand to his again. The same mark on his palm blazed to life, brighter than ever. The blue light spread up his arm, burning but not hurting, wrapping his body in faint glow. Rex barked in alarm, stepping back. Ethan gasped as memories, power, and emotion flooded through him, not just from the being, but from something far greater. He saw the ship again, the dark machine buried for centuries and the endless cold that had trapped both light and shadow beneath the frost. The being stepped closer, eyes soft and sad. "One must close the gate," it whispered in broken English. Ethan shook his head. "You can't do that alone. It'll kill you." The alien smiled weakly. "Life or death. Same in stars." Then the rumble came again, louder, closer. The ground outside cracked. The red light flared across the window, painting the room in blood and fire. Ethan grabbed his coat and rifle. "Then we both go," he said. The being didn't argue. It simply touched his forehead gently, and for a moment, he felt peace, cold and clear, like snow falling on still water. Then they stepped outside. The sky burned red. The valley was split open, the ice broken into great floating slabs. From the crater, the shadow rose, enormous, shifting, its body made of black smoke and light. It had no face, only burning eyes that watched them with hunger. Ethan froze, awe and terror mixing in his chest. "It's alive." The being raised its hands, glowing brighter, the blue light pushing against the red. The air screamed as the two forces met. Snow and ice burst upward in waves. "Now," Ethan shouted, lifting his marked hand. The blue fire inside him flared, linking with the being's light. The mark on his palm stretched into his veins, turning them bright as glass. Together, they aimed their hands at the sky, and the light exploded. A beam of blue energy shot from the ground, striking the red shadow. It howled, twisting and fighting against the force. The air trembled, the ice shattered, and for a heartbeat the night turned white. Ethan felt the power tearing through him. He screamed, but he didn't stop. The being's voice echoed in his mind, calm, steady, unafraid. Hold the light." The red glow began to break apart, dissolving into the air like dust in sunlight. But the blue being's body was fading too, its form turning transparent. "No!" Ethan shouted. "Don't leave me!" The being looked at him one last time, its eyes soft and full of light. "Live!" it whispered. And then it was gone, the light collapsing into Ethan's chest in a single pulse of energy. The storm went silent. The red glow vanished. The ship sank back into the ice, its hum fading into nothing. Ethan collapsed to his knees, gasping for air. Rex whined beside him, pawing at his arm. He looked down at his hands. The blue mark still glowed faintly, but now it was steady, calm. The being's power was inside him. He stared at the sky, where the aurora returned, pure blue this time, flowing gently across the stars. The frost had gone quiet again, but Ethan knew the silence wouldn't last forever. Something deep inside him had changed. He could feel it, energy, warmth, and the faint echo of a voice whispering across his thoughts. "Guard the light." Ethan stood slowly, Rex beside him, the cold wind brushing across his face. He looked toward the distant horizon where the ice met the stars. He wasn't just a man anymore. He was the keeper of what the frost had hidden, and his story was only beginning.